Hello, everybody. No, I was waiting for the cue from Nicole. We are live online as well as to our huge studio audience. I know you at home can't see. The theater is packed. Thank you all for being here tonight and welcome to the Erie Playhouse. We are so excited to continue our Playhouse Icons program for the second year. Icons is meant to be a celebration of individuals who have a long history in the Playhouse community and also a celebration of the Playhouse itself. Every year, hundreds of individuals grace our stage, perform in the pit, and work behind the scenes to bring our productions to life. Tonight, you will hear from two of them. I'm also excited to have our moderators from last year back again. They are Playhouse icons in their own right. One is a longtime Playhouse performer and director, and the other is a former youth theater director and executive director. Please join me in welcoming Shawn and Almi Clerkin.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Oh, you're getting a blessing. Good. That's a good way to start. Well, I have the honor to introduce one of our icons this evening, Bob Martin. Last performed in the Erie Playhouse production of Waitress and the 2024 production of Guys and Dolls. Favorite roles of Bob's include Fagin in Oliver, Jim in Pump Boys and Dinettes, and the Baker in Into the Woods. He has written and directed 23 medieval feasts for the Riverside Inn, and currently he writes them for Peak and Peak Resort. He was an original member of the band Tennessee Back Porch and continues to play bass in theater orchestras throughout the region. Here's a fun fact for you. If you pay close attention and don't blink, you can see him playing the piano behind Richard Gere in the film The Mothman Prophecies. So please put your hands together for Playhouse icon Bob Martin. Yay! Woo!
And it's my honor to introduce to you Trisha Yates. She has performed in many Erie Playhouse shows, including as Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard, Mrs. Lovett as Sweeney Todd, Diana in Next to Normal, and 2 turns as Grisabella in Cats, where my wife said she was an expletive brilliant. She's a longtime educator. Earlier this year, she directed the Playhouse production of Waitress, and she was a longtime educator. She now works at the Playhouse coordinating Playtime, our literacy program, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year.
Amazing.
Fun fact, when Trisha and I both agreed to be a part of West Side Story back in 1984, we made that decision at the world's longest cast party somewhere in the back hills of Elk County. That's a fun fact. So welcome to the stage, Playhouse icon Trisha Yates.
Wonderful. Thank you both for being here. It's kind of hard when you're so talented to talk about yourself, isn't it, Bob? No.
How much time do you have?
No. You know what? Let's start with how many years you've been a part of the Erie Playhouse.
It hit me backstage before the curtain one night at Guys and Dolls last summer when I realized the date I was pretty sure was exactly 50 years earlier that I was Tony in West Side Story. That was my first show at the Playhouse. And I got kind of like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm 100 years old. So I said, it was the first time ever that they cast a 10-year-old Tony. So, no.
It was a youth theater production.
Yeah. Now, where did you do that production?
Wesleyville. Mm-hmm. And then 2 years later, where did we do it the second time? At McDowell?
Yes.
At McDowell.
Yeah.
So.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And Trisha, what about you? What was your first experience? How long have you been here?
Well, my first experiences were actually my parents taking me to the shows. So I saw it. Let me think. I think it was music. I actually don't remember what it was. Maybe Music Man, and I saw The Boyfriend, I believe, and they were all out at Fairview. And so I really enjoyed that. I saw Charlie many times. He was one of the icons that you would go and just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then my first production was when we did West Side Story, and that was 40 4 years ago. 4 years ago? Yeah, yeah.
Do the
81,
math.
81 was mine. My first one was 1981.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you have a vivid memory of that experience? Anything that you
Oh my gosh,
you'll never forget?
I do. Shawn and I are longtime friends from high school, and we went to district chorus and always saw each other.
I am the founding member of the Trisha Boylan, now Yates fan club.
And he actually brought pictures and passed them out at district chorus. That was kind of a thing. So he and I found out I was going to be Maria in West Side Story in Meadville. And so I called him and I told him how excited. He said, well, guess what? I'm going to be Tony in my town. So I said, okay, you come see me, I'll come see you. So at this, we found out maybe a couple weeks before that they were going to be auditioning here at the Playhouse for that. And so I went down to see him and was at the world's longest party. And we decided then we should go and audition together. So we were auditioning at what was the building where PACA is. In the 1515 state, and we went to audition there together, and David was there, and we decided to go in together and sing the Tonight.
We did like the whole entire balcony.
Yeah, and then we got to the part,
we knew it, right?
And he said, David said, aren't you gonna kiss? And we're like, okay, we'll kiss. So that was fun, and then you used to sit in a circle. And he would just call out and say, okay, you read, you read, you read, you read, you read. Now we did have an advantage. We already knew the lines. So we were reading and he'd say, who's this Trisha Boylan? And I said, that's me. He said, okay, you have way too many conflicts. You have way too many conflicts. I'm sorry, but you know what? I can't use you. And so I got up and left. So in those days, you would wait till midnight and they would post it at midnight. So any of you that cast, that's a very interesting thing to think. After you're done casting at whatever time, you sit around and decide the cast right then and put it up. And then you would go back to the door. So I had friends with me that were all auditioning. So we went to Denny's and then we came back at midnight and I stayed in the car because I was kicked out. That's what I felt. And so I just stayed in the car and they were all over there and they're going, and I said, what's going on? You're Maria. I'm like, what? He kicked me out of the, it was like, I was just saying, and that began my long, loving friendship with David Matthews. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, honestly. So, yeah. So that was one.
Bob, do you have any memories of your experience, your first experience at the Playhouse? Do you remember, can you remember that back that far, Bob? I'll stop that. That's my one. That's
kind of, it's something a little similar, actually. I was doing Roar the Grease Paint, David's first show when he came to Erie, but I also had a job at the Village Dinner Theater, and I worked the box office. I set the tables, I bussed the tables, I did all that, and that was to raise money for college. And so I went in and I said, I can't do the show. Like I've got these obligations and the rehearsals and whatever. And he said, you know, if you drop out of a David Matthews show, you're done. I said, I have no choice. I have to do this. And so I kind of went and auditioned for West Side Story on a dare because he said, you're done. Obviously, neither one of us was done. Yeah, thank goodness, because like this has become such a part of our lives. And he just kind of said like, well, you're done until I needed you. And I was like, okay, well, that's fair. But yeah, I was like really shocked because I thought, well, you know, I still auditioned, you know, and went through, I said, oh, I'm going to audition anyways. I don't care. And so that's that. It's kind of similar.
We all, West Side Story is one of those shows where you pretty much, it's a Playhouse family, as we all know, and that is so true. But the fact that the age of the performers, the talent, the energy, the enthusiasm, you know, you make lifelong friendships doing these shows. And the people that do youth theater have known that or are younger and have come into the Playhouse. So, and you both work with children at high schools too. Sorry, young people at high schools. So what did you learn from the Playhouse that you took to General McLean and McDowell or vice versa? Well,
I will tell you, I had an experience and it's an interesting thing that when you start directing, you kind of doubt yourself. You're thinking, actually, all along the process, David was the one who made me feel that I was worth being on stage in so many ways. It's a very emotional thing for me. I will never, he is the person, he is my person, just like Richard is many, many people's person here. Those people that and they make you feel, and they open the doors, and they do all of those kinds of things for you. And I remember I was doing Les Mis, which was our third show at the high school. And I was a nervous wreck about it. And I was having rehearsal that night, and I was having kind of an anxiety attack at school. And at lunchtime, I went into the faculty room, and I called David. I said, David, I don't know what I'm doing. I said, I'm telling you, I don't know if I could do this. And he calmed me down. He said, of course you can do this. And he said very kind, positive things. But here's what was amazing. That night, I was doing empty chairs and empty tables. We were staging it. We were on stage, and I was doing something. I said, okay, take a break. We're going to go to this next thing. And I turned around, and Judy and David were sitting in the audience. And they had come down, and they were just sitting there so quietly. And I turned around, and I went out to them. And he said, what do you mean you can't do this? You know exactly what you're doing. Now just keep doing what you're doing. It's going to be great. And that was really the turning point for just somebody believing in you and just putting in your head, just keep going. And he is that person for me.
That's wonderful. Bob, how about you?
I remembered 4 people that I've done shows for here: Richard, you, David, and Charlie. And there have been others, I'm sure, because I've been in like 200 shows here, which sounds like a frightening amount to me. But it's because there were years that I would do 6 or 7 shows, and you think like that's too high a number, but then think 50 years, and it adds up. But and you said, what did we take to the high schools? So I did the Center of Performing Arts theater program for 17 years there, and directed 57 shows there in that time. And I took from David, I always said he's the best traffic director, and because he would know exactly where you needed to be. He would tell. That was his strength. I thought was what I called directing traffic.
Plus casting.
And casting.
I was just going to say, David could cast a show, and I was always impressed. And sometimes he puts the cast list up, and we'd see our names and roles, and go, what are you smoking, David? But he always seemed to know who to put where in the right place.
2 nights before we opened, we always got those notes.
Always.
2 nights.
Oh, yeah.
2 nights before we opened, the show was always terrible. I mean, and he would tell us everything, and you were just like, okay, get your stuff together.
Yeah. Charlie, I'd done shows with Charlie, and then it was doing Baby in 1985, I think. And that show, I remember I was supposed to go to the movies, and I said, we're just doing one song. He's staging a song. It's the opening song between Lizzie and Danny. It's going to take 20 minutes, and so I'll see it at Tinseltown. And it was 2.5 hours to do this simple song where we just sat on a bed, because it's the stuff you hear about on what's the
Inside the Actors Studio.
Inside the Actors Studio.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah.
He picked apart every line of it and whatever, and I learned like there's so much to doing that, to picking things apart. Almi was just fun. I don't know. No, seriously. David playing
Not the
Fagin.
usual comment.
Playing Fagin and Oliver. I missed that. What?
Not the usual comment.
No. Seriously. No, just kidding. David came up to me after the show when he saw Oliver, and he said, like, I don't know what happened there, but this is because it wasn't his show. David always liked to get the credit, and that's just the way he was. And he goes like, it was a compliment to Almi. He goes, this is like the best thing I've seen you do. And that meant so much to me, especially since it wasn't one of his shows. So I thought, well, maybe he must mean that. And Richard, well, I didn't do cats this time because I said when I did it 17 years ago, I said it's the first time I ever heard spandex scream.
You heard it again in this show, but only in one corner.
But doing a Richard show, everybody just appreciates like what he puts into anything with the dance and the yoga and stuff. I don't know, did they do yoga this time?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because
Every day and every warm up,
yeah,
they did yoga.
so I would say those are the four most influential.
We have some cats in the audience today.
Yes, hello. Meow. Four influential people that helped me become a director, and now I've taken that on to like the to PACA, which I've just really loved directing shows at PACA now. So, but it all comes from the Playhouse.
When we think about again the many roles that you've both played, is there I don't want to say favorite because you don't want to say favorite, but is there something that you felt was like the summit, the thing that was the biggest challenge, but also the greatest sense of accomplishment? Was there a role or a production that you felt most confident about?
Well, I always, I never felt confident until I got to the end. And then I was like, wow, I feel like, oh, that was good. I'm glad I did that. You know, those kinds of things. Sweeney Todd, it was about the lyrics, a lot of lyrics and a lot of movement. And just using props and all of that was really fun. But that felt like a summit. When I did, probably one of my favorite things that I ever did was Next to Normal, because that was so different than what I had ever had to do. But it was an interesting time for me because during the run of the show, my mother passed. And my mother, the character that I played was my mother. My mother had those difficult mental issues. And so it was very emotional for me to play, and I wore my mother's sweater on stage, and I really connected and really understood a lot about her when I was doing the show. So that was a really meaningful thing. But I have to say, as we closed on Sunday night, I was singing Memory, and my husband is conducting, and you have that moment of, those dreams where you have the spotlight on you, and it literally feels like everybody what they feel like. The spotlight's here, I can just see the shadow of Bruce, and I can feel him swelling, and I have to get off the floor, which is a thing. But fortunately, he's conducting, and I stand up, and I'm in the moment where I'm opening my mouth, I'm thinking to myself, this is probably the last time I'm going to do this, and I'm going to enjoy every second of it. It was just it was a magical, magical thing. So that song for me is one of those songs that it's just not necessarily a pretty song in some ways, but it's so meaningful. So I think that was more than one, but there you go.
It's okay.
What about you, Bob?
I think probably playing Che and Evita. I did it twice. The first time was with wonderful Mary Beth Matthews. And I think I select that because it was maybe the most challenging thing vocally, because I do not fancy myself in any way, shape, or form as a good actor. I love to sing, and I feel like I can act when I sing, and then I struggle when I'm not singing to try to act. But that's just me. That's how I perceive myself. But obviously, Evita is pretty much all sung. And it was really, I had a lot of faith in Charlie to pull me through that. And then the second, a couple years later, Laurie Green played Evita. And I thought, like, oh, you can't go home again. I did Pirates of Penzance twice. And the second time it was like, you just can't, sometimes you just feel like you can't go home again, especially if they're close together like that. But the second time was just as challenging, and just, I knew I could do it because I had done it before, but I just think that was my biggest personal accomplishment, was to be able to sing that show. So
I saw it both times. It was awesome.
thank you.
Yeah, lucky to see you in it. Yeah. That's
What about
wonderful.
from an audience perspective, looking up at the stage and sitting in the audience at a Playhouse show? Is there a Playhouse performance or production that you've seen that you sat there and went, "Oh my gosh"?
I think the Playhouse is on a huge roll right now. the quality of the shows, not that they're ever bad, but I sense an elevation in the last year or two in the quality of the shows. Shawshank Redemption, I was like, okay, it's a play. I like musicals, but I'm season ticket holder, so I go and see everything. And I want to, but I was like, okay, Shawshank Redemption. I've seen the movie a lot. I was just blown away by, it felt like a whole new thing. It was so well done. The set was amazing. The lighting, the acting, everything about it. And I just saw Cats and Trish. Bravo. And, I felt bad for a minute. And then the dancing started, and I was like, okay, I'm really glad I'm not in it anymore. But yeah, so I love coming to the theater every show.
I actually, it's moments that you see on stage that are just magical moments. And there are so many magical moments, like Les Mis. Just the first time Les Mis was done, and then it was kind of reinterpreted the second time. There were a lot of changes in it, and that was very magical. Sometimes the lighting just catches me, or sometimes just a particular thing about, oh my gosh, that orchestra was great. But I agree with, there are so many people coming out to audition that it's just like you have a pool of talent that's unbelievable. And then just a shout out to Nico, who is our set designer and our light guy, and all around just does so many great things. The set for Cats was amazing. The lights were amazing. So many cool things that happen with that. It's just really wonderful. I think just gradually every time I come to see a show, there are moments that I love. So singling it out, but I do think that Shawshank Redemption was amazing.
Well, and it's interesting too, because as icons, the two of you are, and as
It means old. Just say it.
old actors, old Playhouse actors. Well, that's what I feel like sometimes. I don't know if you do, because
I do.
I'm working on a show now, or even watching Cats. First of all, I knew some people in it, but I couldn't recognize them. I wanted to see the picture of their face and then their cat picture so I could find them
I
on
wanted
stage.
to as well, because I didn't recognize them either.
Right. And they were amazing, but the youth and the talent. And I think that's one of the luckiest things that we have here is it keeps coming. The talent keeps coming. But also, though, it's funny when you work on a show and do something, they don't know who we are. They don't know how great we think we were. I mean, truly, right? I mean,
one of my favorite stories was during, what show was it? Evita? No,
Evita.
It was Evita. So Almi worked backstage.
Oh,
and this was the year after she retired. And she was watching one of the dance numbers, and they were warming up ahead of time. And she had gone over to one of the dancers, and she said, "Oh, you're a little behind everybody else." And then she left
isn't
the
that
stage.
annoying?
And no, it was it was,
Yeah.
and then somebody went up to Kate Thiem and she said, who does that stagehand think she is?" In reference to Almi, and Kate said, she kind of helped to put that stage under your feet right now. So just know who she is. But it's very interesting how quickly we are forgotten.
Right.
You know, I think that same year I went
Is
to
this the uplifting portion of
Oh
it?
yes, well,
This is it. And you notice it's not Bob and
Yes.
Trisha, it's Shawn
Now,
and
this is-
Almi
it's
whining
Shawn and
about
Almi
this.
that can be forgotten. You guys are not forgotten.
You're not forgotten.
Let me ask, speaking of things that maybe is not uplifting, but I think is still positive. What about a role that got away from you? Is there, when you think about the one, I wished I wished I was young enough to go back and redo that one.
Or I didn't get cast.
Or I didn't get cast. Yeah, the role that you didn't get
I
cast.
tried out and I didn't get cast.
Yes, yeah. Something you wished you had an opportunity to go back and do. Because I don't know about you, but I look at the roles I will never play as opposed to the roles I hope to play.
Oh,
Right?
yeah. Or you can't play. The thing was, I came off of, the second time, well, just to clarify that for West Side Story, and this is a fun little trivia thing, is that Shawn and I played it in 1981 and then in 1985.
Right.
And when we came back, we were both engaged, not to each other, but to our beautiful spouses. We both got married during the run of the show, and we took a week off of rehearsals to get married.
On the same day.
On the same day.
Unplanned, right?
Yeah, I was we were 10:30, you were later, so they came like David and
Playhouse
Judy came
people
to
to
both.
both,
They came to both. And then we both went on our honeymoon to Toronto, and we both had freaking tickets to see Cats the same night.
Same night.
So we saw each other on our honeymoons.
This is sounding murkier and murkier.
It was a thing. I mean, that's a true story. You cannot make that up. So yeah. What was the question?
The question is, what's the one that got away? Either you'd like to go back and revisit
Well,
that
there
role,
are two
or a
that I
role you
auditioned
really
for
wanted
that
to
I
play.
did not get. That I would have really loved to play. I would have loved to play the mother in Ragtime. And I really would have loved to do that. So that was one. And I was very disappointed and I cried, but I cried like tears of disappointment, you know, and then you're like, okay, go see the show because all your friends are in it. And it was a fabulous performance. And I loved seeing it. So, and then the other one that I tried out was for Mama Rose. And I didn't get Mama Rose, but I have to say, you know, when I saw who was cast, I'm like, yes. It was like, absolutely. It was Kelly, what's her last name now? Santiago, who is amazing. And she was, I was her biggest fan. So again, you're disappointed, but then you go and see it and you're like, you have to trust. And I always say this, it's not that you didn't get the part because you weren't right for it. It's just that the director is painting a picture and it's his or her picture that you're a part of. It's kind of not a democracy. It really is the picture that director is painting for that vision. And then maybe some other time you'd be right in somebody else's. And you just have to trust and respect that. So
Mine, I have to single somebody out because I would call him my nemesis. Because when you asked that question, 3 shows came to mind. And I lost the role to 3 shows that I really, really were on my bucket list to the same person.
Who's dish? Let's go.
Okay. Ken Brundage.
Yes.
Ken Brundage in Next to Normal
Yes.
played the dad opposite Trish.
he's
And
my
then
love on stage.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I wanted to play the John Lithgow role, and he got that. And then the third one was the dad in Fun Home. And but here's the thing. Like you said, you get over it, and then you go, and I sat there and applauded every moment of all 3 of his performances. Especially, I played in the orchestra for Fun Home, and I could have watched that show 100 times. It was, you know, he was excellent. Who directed Fun Home?
It was a great show. Oh, I'm sorry.
Did Zach direct it?
Zachariah. All right.
Oh
Zachary.
my gosh, it was brilliant.
Good job, Zach.
Show.
It was brilliant,
So good.
That's terrific.
especially the bass playing.
That's funny. Now, here, looking forward, because that's what we have to do. And thank goodness we have to do it. And everything is still here so they can do it. But what's your greatest hope for the Playhouse? What do you hope happens moving forward and anything?
Well, what I hope is what's happening, actually. I mean, honestly, we come to staff meetings. It is such a positive place to work. The team is extraordinary. They're creative. They have so much energy, and they're working back-to-back shows, building one show on top of another, doing things. You know, Richard is juggling so many things at the same time, doing so many shows. They're building and moving things in and things out. Nicole and Kate, who are just like the backbone of putting all the socials together and the ideas together. It's just so cohesive. Everybody in the box office, everybody works together. If I'm not mentioning someone, I'm sorry. But honestly, I just feel everybody's doing such a great job. If we just would continue on I can't wait for everybody to see the launch. It's exciting and it's really great and everything's positive and so many people are auditioning. We have like 130 people audition for you know, a group of shows. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
So that's what I just say, keep going.
I totally agree. That was my first thought as well. So I had to change my thought. So I didn't repeat what you just said. And that is the sort of the legacy that comes out of the high schools. Like Leah Johnson was my student. Diane Hardner was my student. I mean, I could fill pages of Playhouse performers that were students of mine, and you could do the same easily. And to see the high schools doing the quality of shows that they're doing, I had a budget of like $200 to put on Grease. That was my first show at McDowell. And literally they said, well, oh yeah, you can spend $200. I said, the royalties are more. Well, besides the royalties, that's for costumes, sets, all that stuff. And now their budgets are thousands of dollars, but they're turning out great students, student performers, and doing great productions. And I hope that the city and the county support the theater programs, because they feed into here, and they feed into PACA, and they feed into all the.
Can I also say, I mean, this is a family thing, and we have like a rule about bringing up our family, but my daughter has been working here as music director or coordinator. Sorry, I get my own title mixed up as well. But I have really enjoyed listening to the parts on stage. Like we did Waitress, and the singing was just like phenomenal. And it was just because there's like a groove with that. There's a groove that's going on with that. And it's just really nice to consistently, it's like all the pieces have somebody really working on them. And it's not that it happened before, but now it's just recognized so much. It feels so professional. And that's really cool.
Well, and the Playhouse has always been that. It's community theater, but it's always had a professional attitude.
It has, but it's
Always.
just, do you know what I mean? It's just getting,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not that it hasn't, but I agree
Yeah.
with that, yeah.
When we took the Glorious Ones to the national competition, the other theaters at each level we made it to, we would do a sort of a round table type situation at each city that we would perform the show in. And people's jaws dropped when we told about the staff that we have here and the number of productions that we do. There are community theaters out there that can only afford to do like 1 or 2 shows a year. And we're like, oh yeah, we do well with the youth theater and the main stage and the side concerts and this, we do about 16, 17 productions a year. And they're like, what? And they just can't believe like what we have here in Erie. And what was it? Shawn and Almi were part of that. It was the Glorious Ones, and we had a blast. And then we actually took the show to Ireland. So just so we could say we were international performers.
Our international tour.
Our tour.
Now, you both are extraordinary directors as well as performers. Could you, are there any shows on your bucket lists for directing out there? I mean, what is something, not that we have any expectation or anything, but if you could direct a show here on the Playhouse stage, is there a show that you would like to bring
You
to the stage?
better not pick mine.
And if you do, that's great, actually.
What I want to do is Parade.
Oh my gosh.
I want to do Parade. I've loved Parade forever and ever and ever. And there's something about, I'm a story gal, and there's something about the story that just like touches me. And I just, that's the show that I would like to do.
I pick Parade.
I will duke you out for that. And I'm going to win. Well, actually, first of all, if it comes, and then if I would get I don't even know, but I'm just saying that's the show I would want to do.
No, I agree. I really never gave it much thought. Things come my way, and it's, they happen.
Well, you write a lot of your own things too, though. You do
That's
a lot
true,
of
but
really cool things.
that's silly nonsense.
It is not.
But it makes people laugh.
Very.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jerry Gill, Queen Elizabeth.
Should we see if there's, how are we doing on time, Zach? Okay.
We're good.
Questions from the audience?
We could do some questions from the audience. You know what? I'll go down and I will.
Oh, thank you.
Hold
That's
the
a good
microphone if there's
idea.
anybody out there. Oh,
Wow, it's like the Phil Donahue show.
hi, everybody. Oh,
Careful, Shawn.
oh, yes.
I've tripped down those
I
stairs.
know. Oh, I'm like
Camelot.
62.
White. That
Are there
white
any questions
brocade
from the
coat.
audience?
Darn it.
Oh.
Yes, young lady who sounds an awful lot like Trisha.
What is your biggest stage flub in front of an audience?
Oh, none. So many, you said?
Do you?
Devin said she could think of a couple Trisha had, but
Your biggest. It has to be your biggest.
You know, I have many because I'm a good rhymer and I have often gone up on lyrics. Mrs. Lovett, who my daughter played as well, and you know, she also understands the importance of all those lyrics. They're hard, and I mean, I did a whole verse on Tweedledees and Tweedledums in More Hot Pies. More Hot Pies was just like, I'm looking at them and but I think my best cover ever that I did was in Kiss Me Kate when on I Hate Men, which is a straightforward thing, but it's got 5 verses and it's like dinner and winter and, you know, and then, so, you know, that was probably the real words, but I had to rhyme it. So I'm like, and then they'll be home with your kinner. Because to me, it had to make sense. So I was one that could save it, but it was not the right lyrics. Were you thinking of what were you thinking? Kiss Me Kate. Oh, and they would sit in every night. I'd be backstage with the winner, that's winter, and then what did it, and the word was, and I'd come out.
But can I say, I've been there a couple of times, and you've actually convinced me that perhaps I might remember the lyrics wrong because you say them with such confidence.
I do.
That I begin to question whether I think I know what I'm saying. But yeah, I
And
know.
do you always know what you're saying, though?
Never, seldom.
I'm just saying.
Seldom.
I mean, we've started as Raggedy Ann and Andy.
We
opposite
yes,
one another.
absolutely. That was probably that was my son.
That was our high point. Literally, we played Toys in Toyland and we were Raggedy Ann and Andy. And we wore the full garb, the triangles and everything on our face. So,
other questions? Oh, Bob,
I
you
was going
got
to
it.
answer that because.
Go ahead, Bob. Sorry. You're up.
No, just I'll never forget this, and it wasn't my fault. That's why I'm telling this. So it was a flub, but it was not my fault. Mike and his brother painted the sign outside. Mike
who painted the sign
the
outside.
alley sign, and it's brother
Mike Bush.
Mike Bush.
Yes.
Mike Bush.
Mike and Rob.
Mike and Rob should never have been in the same show together because there was all kinds of confusion and angst and stuff backstage. But anyhow, Mike thought he had a great sense of humor, which he's the only one that thought that, I think. But so I'm standing backstage and Chris Cooper is out fighting with Paul Urbanowitz and they're having this breakup of their marriage. And I am the one that's supposed to go in and propose to her. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, he goes, "Bob, you're supposed to be on stage," like that. And I went, "Oh my God!" And I grabbed these grocery bags because I had gone out for groceries, and I like kicked the door open and I rush out on stage right in the middle of the fight they were having on stage. I didn't have to go on for another I don't know, 2 pages, and I burst through the door and I went, "I'll be right back," and I turned around.
That's terrible.
I know it was not my fault.
I do
That's
have to
not
say, Devin, so when I was pregnant with Devin, I went to see, in New York City, we went to see Mandy Patinkin and Rebecca Luker in Secret Garden.
Oh, beautiful.
And when she came out saying, "Clusters of crocus," and I'm rubbing the belly going, "I hope you're a girl, because I really want to do this show with you." And then the show came, and Devin was the right age, and she had not done anything at the Playhouse, and so I was, I prepared her. "Now, David, you probably won't get the part, but we're just going to go and try." And she wouldn't let me help her with her audition because she's like that. And we went and auditioned, and we came back and looked at the sign, and she got the part, and I got the aunt, and my husband directed, and 15-year-old Andrew Rainbow played the piano. And that's where we all started our friendship with that. And so 2 things happened during that show. The first one was, it was opening night and they had a scrim. So they would open the curtains and I was standing behind the scrim in the most beautiful gown, which I think Richard made. It was white, so beautiful. And Devin was over on the other side. So we're waiting backstage and I walk over to her and I'm walking across the stage and I say, "Now, Devin, don't be nervous. When the curtain opens up, it's going to be probably overwhelming, but Dad's there. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine." And then I go back. And another thing, if something happens, just go with it. It's gonna be totally fine. Go back. And I'm so proud. Mom, I'm just trying to like think and relax for a minute before I start. So could you just the curtain opens and I'm saying clusters of crocus. Bruce is down conducting. As we're opening and Jesse's backstage and his little ADHD person with his little wire rim glasses is going ping, 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 ping all backstage. And that was the first family affair.
That's
and
great.
during that show, we had to stop the show because Devin got a bloody nose.
Oh.
And Matt Franz, who was he fuckier? No, yeah, he pinched her nose and she was prone to bloody noses. We had to stop the show, and here I am at the white dress holding an ice pack. It's gonna be okay. Oh, it's right, fine. And then she came back on, and I think the sentence was, well, it was something like, well, that was really something. I mean, that literally was the line coming back on.
Yeah.
So we stopped the show for her bloody nose.
The family part of, if you're blessed enough to do theater with your family here, it's pretty awesome.
It is
Really awesome.
Any other questions? Anybody else?
Just so they're not math questions. I'm not good at math.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. So, for any newcomers that are planning on joining the Playhouse family, do you have any advice for those newcomers that want to come and join?
If you don't get into a show on your first try, never give up. A lot of people talk to me, well, my daughter auditioned and they didn't cast her. And when's she going to audition again? Well, she was so disappointed. Well, yeah. And the whole point is that it's competitive, but the payoff is great. And the Playhouse loves to give new people a chance.
That is so true.
They love to give new people a chance. So that would be my advice, is just don't ever give up trying to get in the door.
And I would say, the audition in itself is a winning experience. Getting in the door, singing the song, if you have to start over, you really it's no problem. You start at 0 when you go back again. It's not like, oh, well, they flubbed up. I mean, all of us have done that. Just keep doing it, keep auditioning, and come. If you come and you make it through your audition, you've won already, because that's a really cool thing to do, to come through an audition. And the other thing I would say is don't be afraid. You don't have to know it all in rehearsals. And I see with young people sometimes, they think that if they ask or they want it, it's a sign that they're not doing their job. And I really think that I talk all the time. Richard gave me 3 amazing notes that I had never really thought about. I really enjoyed, that stick out in my mind in Cats, that I would have never employed had he not said, I really want, think about this is that. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. It really helps when somebody gives you an idea. So ask for an idea. Ask for somebody to tape you. Ask for them to say to you, well, what did you think about that? Could you understand my words? You should ask someone else, because they're watching you, and you need to be able to work that way.
And I always like it. I loved sitting and watching the icons perform and watch them do what they do. And so you got to put your phone away, and you have to sit, and you have to be quiet, and you have to watch. And I think a lot of people learn that way too. And you're going to learn at every show, don't you think? I mean, it is. And, it's our hobby, right? We're lucky to have this hobby and to be able to bring it to people for their enjoyment. So, yeah, any way you can watch those that have done it and then share that too, because, again, everyone has great ideas for sure. What do you think?
I was just going to throw out another question. So you love this theater, and we all do, but what is something in your life that has nothing to do with theater that is also a passion for you? something that you really enjoy that is nothing to do with performance or musical theater, or is there anything?
Well,
beyond-
I mean, I work here also with Playtime, and that is definitely my passion. I do think that by nature, I love storytelling, and I like that it links. I like that everything comes back to theater. We had a lot of people, a lot of little kids that that came with their families to see Cats, and some people that come for the first time. That's really wonderful. And when they watch and they, you know, they've never really seen live like that, so that's really, really fun. But I really do that. My passion is Playtime. I really do love going into the schools. We see 2,400 kids a week in all of the schools, and we have facilitators. And Mr. Bruce, my husband, is one of the facilitators, and it's really great. So that's really my passion.
Bob, what about you?
Besides my husband.
I, I met
That was for you, Devin.
I met Chris and Julie Moore at the Playhouse, and then I got into Tennessee Back Porch a million years, 40 years ago, and it's that became like, it didn't overtake the theater, but I came to a point where I had to make a choice because the band was working constantly, and there were shows, and I was in rehearsal for Pippin, and they said, "Oh, we forgot to put this on your calendar, but there's 2 big jobs that we have coming up." And I went, "I can't do those." And I had to make a tough choice, and I chose the theater over the band because I could not walk out of a production that was shortly opening. But I met them through the theater. I got introduced to playing a musical instrument through them, and then I went back to the theater, and now I'm directing shows, playing in orchestras, usually with Devin, and still being in shows. So I think my other thing is having the variety that I enjoy now, that I'm not always just locked into one thing. And variety's the spice of life, eh? Yeah.
Okay.
We do have time for one more question. So you are both Playhouse icons, which means you are both appreciated now, but will be remembered in the future. What is the thing you want to be most remembered for? What is the legacy you want to leave behind? Yes, from the Playhouse standpoint. So
I want to be a good mom.
So the next generation is going to say, "I worked with Bob, I worked with Trisha, and this is what I remember." What would you like to be remembered for?
That's tough. I always go back to when people say, like, what's really exciting for you, and that's I want to be remembered that I had a bunch of students that kind of followed me here and became part of the Playhouse, and they're actually like friends of mine now. Pat Thiem and I are great friends, and you and Almi, we've known each other forever, and there are a lot of places throughout life, college and stuff, where you say, like, we're going to be friends forever, and it's not really realistic, but we have been friends forever, like forever. And that's the thing that's, I think I would want to pass along, that, yeah, you're going to meet people here that potentially could be your friends forever.
I think for me, it's whenever I did something, did you go along with me on the journey? So were you there with me? And, you know, I think about, I myself am not a person who really subscribes to the acting is reacting. I feel like acting is like really sitting in that moment, which is, I feel, really hard to do consistently. There are many times when you stray, when you're on stage, you're thinking about this or that. It's really hard to stay in the moment. But when you stay in the moment, everybody is with you. And you can so think about those magical moments when you were watching somebody on stage. I've seen so many on this stage where it was just a magical moment and you just forgot about everything and you were just oh, I just really feel that. I really feel that. And I think I guess that's the legacy, is telling the story.
And there's a place for everybody. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Please, no.
There are people that are needed in other capacities other than being in the spotlight. And there are so many people that I've become friends with that are backstage people and orchestra people and lighting people. And it's funny when you mentioned Nico before. I directed at Gannon, Musical of Musicals, and he came up and he went, "I'm your set designer." I went like, "I've got an 8-year-old set designer." I'm just kidding.
And now he's 12.
So I said, like, "I'll tell you what we're going to do." He goes, I've got all ideas laid out. I have a point to this. And so I said, "Let's go. We'll have lunch at the Plymouth, and I want to see everything that you've got." And he came, and here's this kid at Gannon with a passion. And he laid out this stuff, and I looked at it, and I was like so impressed. I just could not get over it, that this was the first time I met this kid, and he was all ready for it. And he worked his way onto stage now. So there are places for anybody that has an interest in anything that goes on in this building. It doesn't.
And backstage is a lot harder than it looks, because I filled in when my son was stage manager, and you and I worked that night, and I pulled the curtain totally wrong. And this was the funny part. The director, Almi, took over and said, "Go back, go back, go back." And Jesse's like, "Richard's telling me to, no, go back, go back." I'm like, "Oh, what do I do?" I've never been so nervous as pulling a freaking curtain. So I'm just saying, everybody.
That's a
is
hard job.
important.
It is.
It
is.
It's a job.
Awesome. Well, this was a great, great night. Let's give our icons a round of applause. Woo! Woo, woo. Thank you so much. Shawn, anything to wrap up?
No, I think just this is part of Playhouse Week. There's a lot more events coming, including the launch party, which I see some people out there getting ready to rehearse for the launch party. So just make sure you continue to become to be a Playhouse supporter, as a performer, as an audience member, and also word of mouth is what puts butts in seats, we used to say at Drama Shop. So please, if you have great experiences, tell other people, increase our audiences, and really encourage people to participate and be a part of things here. So thank you both very much, and thank you, Almi.
Thank you,
It's nice to see
friends.
you.